The center of the Christian message is the cross of Jesus Christ. And in these verses, Luke takes us to that event and shows us its meaning. He gives us a series of details. 2 criminals are crucified, one on either side of Jesus. This fulfills Isaiah's prophecy that he would be numbered with the transgressors. The soldiers gamble to decide who gets to keep his clothes in fulfillment of Psalm 22:18. And finally, a sign is placed above his head that reads, "This is the King of the Jews." The cross is where Jesus fulfills God's promised plan. The King has come to Israel, the long-awaited Messiah. But he doesn't come in spectacular glory to crush their enemies and restore their nation. He comes in total humility to suffer and die in our place. The long-awaited King should have been carried on the shoulders of a cheering crowd into his city. Instead, he's betrayed by his closest companions, put through a shady trial by corrupt officials, and then wrongfully sentenced to death by shame and torture. And now, as he comes to this place of death, Luke introduces us to the 2 criminals. These 2 men show us that there are 2 ways to respond to Jesus. The first man sees Jesus as pitiful and pathetic. He mocks Jesus. "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." See how ridiculous this is? This man is being stood up on a cross as a public spectacle for the world to see his shame and shame him. He is naked, bleeding, and dying. Really, he's in no position to be ridiculing anybody. But in the moment of his deepest shame and desperation, he still manages to be proud and arrogant. He still manages to try and belittle the only innocent man ever crucified. He's so determined to big note himself that he'll use his last words, his dying words, to try and tear down Jesus. But the second man sees Jesus differently. He sees that Jesus is from God, and he rebukes the first man. "Do you not fear God?" The second man sees that he is a sinner, that he deserves to be crucified, that he deserves God's judgment. Verse 40, "We are under the same sentence of condemnation, and we indeed justly, for we are receiving the due reward for our deeds." He sees that Jesus is innocent, says this man has done nothing wrong. And finally, he sees who Jesus really is. And so he cries out to Jesus for mercy. "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." We don't know much about this man, but we do know that he believes in Jesus. Think about it. What would make him look at a man stripped naked, whipped to shreds, nailed to a cross, and think, that guy is about to become king? It makes no sense. It can't just be a guess. He's heard Jesus speaking. He's heard Jesus foretell that he was going to be killed. He's heard Jesus say that he'll rise again to claim his throne. And he's probably heard Jesus proclaim salvation, the forgiveness of sins, and eternal life. He's heard Jesus' message, and now he sees Jesus pinned to a cross, and he believes. So from his deepest place of shame and despair, he cries out to Jesus, "Remember me." And Jesus replies to some of the most amazing words that have ever passed through human lips. "Today you will be with me in paradise." What an incredible statement that is. Today. Not after you have completed your time in purgatory, not once you've finished cleaning up your act, not once you've shown the fruit of a changed life. Today. Think about all the thousands of sunsets you've seen. Think how quickly they come and go. He tells this man, "You will not see the sun finish setting again before this entire blessing comes crashing down on your head and you are drenched from head to toe in the grace of God. Today, you will be with me," says Jesus. He tells this man, "Where I am going, you are coming too." It's a statement of relationship, of friendship. I have accepted you. I love you. You are welcome in my home. There is a seat for you at my table. You will be with me in paradise, where all conflicts are finished, where all the battles are done, where God's creation is totally untainted and broken people are finally remade into all that God meant for them to be. Today you will be with me in paradise, Jesus tells this man. And what did the man do to hear such an amazing promise? What would you give to hear Jesus promise that to you? What would you sacrifice? What would you pay? This man did nothing. He couldn't do anything. That's the amazing thing about this passage. His crimes had caught up to him, and his life was over. He didn't have another day to spend trying to live a better life. He can't even put his hands together to pray because they are literally nailed down. Humbled and humiliated, naked and poor, he turns to Jesus, trusting in the promises, and simply says, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. See, we all deserve to be crucified. We deserve God's judgment. And we all sit on one side of Jesus or the other. So my question is today, where are you? Are you on the side of the first guy, sneering, mocking, or just ignoring Jesus? You know, he's unimportant. I couldn't care less. He's nothing to me. Or will you stand with the second man? Jesus, I deserve to be judged. I've got nothing to offer and no excuses. But I know you are king. And I know you forgive the worst of people. Please remember me when you come into your kingdom.